Welcome back, Weberheads, to the first episode of our new format in this new year and new decade. A show entirely dedicated to the master Andrew Lloyd Webber and his works. However, Jellicles, all is not well at the Jellicle Ball. Let's check in here.
Okay,
I'm beside myself, Colin.
This article, this piece, it absolute dog shit.
It is
Utterly
violence.
Trash.
It is violence.
Just wait. From a magazine that you may have heard of, but is now canceled. Okay?
Don't even say the name.
I won't. So it's titled The Cat's Horror by Eileen Jones. No, it's not so bad it's good. Cats is a beloved Broadway musical.
Correct. It's just good. It's good.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's not any part of it that's bad.
Turned into a $100 million Hollywood freak show.
Wow.
Also,
wow.
You're describing a good thing.
Yeah, judgy.
Idiot.
Judgy.
$100 million Hollywood freak show. Who would not want to watch that?
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool, actually. By now, everybody knows what a gruesome flop Cats is. The disastrous...
That's just a factual statement.
$100 million.
Gotta give them that.
Exactly. No one's going to lose money on that.
Yeah, let's hope not. Adaptation of Andrew Lloyd Webber's stage musical has already been shoved into the last most
masterpiece.
Obscure theater in the Cineplex. The one so far down the long hallway from the lobby, it's practically in the parking lot.
Yeah, well, there's no justice under capitalism, is there?
Well, I'm sorry that it got knocked out of the big theater by that fucking work of art that was Star Wars Episode 57.
Yeah.
But let's be serious. Cats, best movie in the theater right now.
Not really looking at the big picture there, are you?
No.
Jacobin magazine.
The film's failure is no surprise. Months ago, people watching the trailer were already reeling back in horror, screaming, "My eyes! My eyes!"
Philistines. Listen.
No, they're reeling back in horror that it wasn't out right then. They're like, how do I wait all the way till Christmas for this gift?
You couldn't do it.
I don't think this person even saw the movie. Because
They didn't see the movie we saw, that's for sure.
Yeah.
They
Let me
did
tell
not
you.
get the popcorn with toxoplasmosis.
I feel like that's the case with the most movie reviewers. Like, they don't watch the movie.
You know, that probably would explain a lot about the backlash against Cats and that masterpiece Star Wars movie.
Oh, I think you're onto something, Max, because she admits that she fell asleep twice.
Probably missed. Probably
Twice.
missed.
Magical Mr.
Mistopheles.
She does also take
Probably
special umbrage with that scene.
missed
James
Corden,
the railway cat.
No, James Corden actually does suck.
Skimbleshanks.
Jones.
Look, Skimbleshanks the railway cat is amazing.
That guy was like a village person.
Yeah, Skimbleshanks rules.
This Skimbleshanks and Mr. Mistopheles, good. Jacobin magazine,
Bad.
and
Extremely
Eileen
bad.
Jones, traitors to the
Canceled.
revolution,
Canceled.
and will be the first to die.
When
Jacobin anti-sex, or
It seems like it.
Okay.
this is an anti-sex
very
take.
like
You said
sex
very
negative
sexual.
It's
article.
kink shaming.
Right?
Yeah.
Kink shaming.
This is kink shaming.
Yeah.
Very heteronormative, kink shaming bullshit, sex negative shit from Eileen Jones in the pages of Jacobin, and they're all canceled.
Yeah, and I'm not storming the Bezos castle without my cats. All right.
Hey assholes, welcome to 2020. Welcome to the 20s. Hang on, let me do this again.
Oh, this podcast got an edge now. It's got an edge. Greg uses swears now.
Hang on. Wait, I want to do it again.
Yeah, he's like in a white tee and leather jacket.
Yes.
He's about to start complaining about coffee. Let's hear more.
Hang on. I didn't do it good. Let me do it again. Hey asshole, welcome to the 20s. Okay, that's the new catchphrase. That's it.
Of the podcast or of the decade?
Of life. Catchers of the decade.
Yes.
All right.
Answer yes.
Okay.
Good luck living through the next 10 years, asshole.
No kidding.
That's the more accurate. Yeah. All right. So we're back.
Oh, yeah. I have some duty to do, which is This is not the Andrew Lloyd Jellicle ball. This is Seattle Sucks. It's still us. We might
Our
be
listeners just tuned out.
it might be a little edgier now in 2020, but it's us. The whole gang is here, and we've got some very special guests.
Yeah. Happy New Year,
Yes,
dear
Happy
listener.
New Year.
Bold, big new things on the horizon in this year, 2020. Lots of stuff happening. One of our number will be having a second child this
It's
year.
true.
Another will be tying the knot. Making an honest friend of the show of Bryn, finally.
You might say this podcast is starting to focus on the family.
Yeah, but I want you guys to know, like Russell Wilson, we have observed strict celibacy and we'll be Instagramming the moment the night of our wedding. So just keep your eyes out on the gram, guys.
Yeah, well, and another of us will continue to live his best life alone on his
On the
boat.
sea.
One of his life will change in no way.
I'm married to the canal. Seriously, Happy New Year. And congratulations to you and your loved ones and on all your breeding and antiquated heteronormativity and whatnot. Way to ring in the new decade. Also, to help us ring in the 2020s, we've invited the baby New Year and Father Time, also known as Max, the radical bomb-throwing teen. I say that purely figuratively. And Alex, a.k.a. Bezostown.
Yes.
You know him. He's handed you some weird money at a rally or a protest. It had Jeff's disgusting face on it, and you were like, yeah, sure, okay, thanks. And turned to your friend and were like, what the fuck is this? Those were Bezos bucks. I've got a stack of them right here. I'm about to make it rain on the
Yes,
boat.
please do.
I gave one to Sean Scott, city council candidate.
Nice.
At this rally at the Bezos balls.
Hell yeah.
Max went to that, was not impressed. And Sean says, what does this get me? I said, nothing.
Well, and true to form. Man of his word.
Alex is of an earlier generation of Seattle indie media cranks. So in a way, he's like kind of our dad.
Yeah, totally.
Our dad is on the boat, old cranks meeting new cranks.
Yep. And
Podcasting used to be called public access television, right? Bitter
Exactly.
cranks would get together.
this is exactly the
but
vibe we're
thankfully,
hoping for.
podcasting is an audio format, so you don't have to watch the cranks. You're just
Yeah, exactly.
listening to the
It's
magic.
also a lot easier to do. He's also the host of Seattle's newest and weirdest podcast, Doomed Planet.
Yes.
Which has its first couple of episodes up now, available wherever fine podcasts appear in search results.
Yep.
Yeah, super cool to have you guys. Max, say hi.
Hi, yeah,
Radical
buenos
Teen.
noches.
What's that?
Radical?
Yes, very radical.
Yeah.
You're a radical teen? Okay.
I mentioned that, like, I support Bernie. He's all we've got right now. And Max is saying, oh, Bernie, really?
Well, he's a real radical kid. He's a real Buttigieg kid. If you know what I mean.
Oh God, no.
Yeah, no, I want to hear. Let's start here. I want to hear your thoughts on the current, Democratic field. Like, what do we put our faith in 2020, Max?
Generally, electoral politics are pretty cringe. They don't really.
Hell yeah!
It's lucky you can't vote.
They're
son.
designed by capitalists to keep the state of things rolling, and no matter how radical a specific candidate seems, they're never gonna really intrinsically change our system, which is what needs to happen. And I mean, sure, Bernie will save some lives by providing affordable and free healthcare to the majority, but I mean, he's
Well,
not
he's
gonna,
up against the
Yeah, he's not-
healthcare industry and the Senate, so it's the thought that counts with that plan, right?
Yeah, I
Because
mean, but that is
ever
pretty
gonna
bleak.
happen?
The
I
thought
mean,
that that it's the thought that counts, right?
is- yeah,
I mean, I'm with the radical teen here. Right? Like,
I'm just shocked that middle schools are reading Lyndon's State and Revolution these days. But hey, I'm all for it though.
yeah. I mean, well, look, like it's sort of inevitable. We're gonna talk about this briefly, and this is as good a way to start as any. Like, look, the one good thing the last administration, the Obama administration, did make once again, like, and for the most finally end the Cold War with Iran, and that was, a radical bucking of the sort of consensus in Washington and in the moneyed halls of power.
yeah, 50 years of fucking with Iran.
Yeah,
So,
and look, even when you do something like that, there are forces that come and get pissed off and try to reverse that. We're not going to spend like a whole episode talking about this. There's better people to listen to on this or read about this. But like, I mean, I want to hit a few points, which is to say, like, kind of on this same theme. Don't let people make it about like, don't let the narrative be about this being like Trump's war, Trump's blunder, because while it's like everything else, yes, he is a particularly like
odious
lunatic, who you can quibble about the sort of the strategy and the way it was rolled out and the finesse. But look, this is what the Obama administration was good at, in a way, was doing imperial murder with finesse, right? They may have made peace with Iran, but they also like drone bombed a lot of weddings and kept our wars going in the Middle East and kept people in prison in Guantanamo Bay, and he did it in style, right?
yeah, soft power, right?
Yeah,
Softer,
yeah.
gentler drones.
Well, they used soft power so they could use more hard power, Well, the Trump administration doesn't have a lot of use for soft power, but in the end of the day, it's the same fucking thing.
Yeah, Assad actually said that he likes Trump the best because he's not the best president, but he's the most transparent American president, and
Yeah, well said.
yeah,
Good
he
point.
doesn't
Yeah.
like hide behind anything,
Yeah.
He's
The mask is off,
purely
as
American.
has been said.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the real. This is American empire. It's about a lot of different things for different like factions and characters, but it's basically about money. You keep these Cold Wars alive and even make them hot at times because you can sell aircraft carriers to the Navy, you can sell missile defense systems to Israel and Saudi, ad nauseum. You can develop whole new tanks and new generations of shitty fighters that fall out of the sky. Iran was part of that whole program. It was part of the axis of evil for that reason. Okay, it's one of the places in the world that the empire has spent the most time, money, and effort building up into a villain, and is perfectly situated to do just that.
Yeah, and I mean, you can't understate how angry the sort of, U.S. sort of material or military and national security state was about the 79 revolution in Iran.
Yeah.
Something that they absolutely never forgot. And, from their immediate aid to Iraq and the Iran-Iraq War in the 1980s, all the way through to shooting down an Iranian passenger liner and then just going
refusing to
oopsies.
apologize. No, there was not even an oopsies, really.
The thing's always been about, attacking Iran and making them pay for what they did in 79, right? Now, the thing that's always saved Iran is they can actually defend themselves, which is why, they might have been part of the axis of evil but never got invaded. But
even without nuclear weapons.
yeah, but hey, maybe we'll test that theory. There was the war nerd thing about how Iran would, probably inflict a lot of casualties on the U.S. in a war. Maybe we'll get to find out, I guess.
Yeah.
So everything that's old is new again, and the war with
Like
Iran
the
seems
draft.
imminent.
I know the kids, 14-year-olds, are
yeah,
talking about the draft.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Seriously.
that's a big
Is that coming
meme
up?
going around on social media, but it's really ridiculous because Yeah, there's thousands of people in service for America right now, like, that can be deployed, and the draft is kind of ridiculous. Like,
Yeah, I think
America
that is
would not
a
do
good
that.
point.
Politically ridiculous for anyone to do that.
It is probably whatever happens to reassess after 10 years of like brutal global war, but like for the time being, even if something really seriously escalates to like direct war with Iran, there's not going to be a draft. We're just going to bomb the living shit out of them from above.
Yeah, exactly. It's not going to affect.
And we're just going to
people
level them like worse than we did at Iraq, like because the sort of the mask is off and they have been built up as this evil thing. We're just going to level them like we did Vietnam. But they know that, so they don't want war. They never have. And plenty of people in the American establishment don't actually want open war like that with Iran.
Well,
there
yeah.
are factions that do. There are these crazy like Team B psychotics, the neocons, the aggrieved CIA people, and maybe like aggrieved like Marine generals. But there's the arms industry that is really, I think, the power here that directs this, that they're good either way. There's a compromised position, and that's continued Cold War that's escalated, that sells without even going to war. They'd love it if Iran sank a bunch of aircraft carriers, but they'll be fine. The empire is so greedy and bloodthirsty and stupid. You can still sell them more aircraft carriers and other stuff, even if they don't sink any. So, like, they're going to be fine. So I think that's a compromised position between like a lot of interests here. Iran doesn't want war. Plenty of people in America don't, and the arms industry can make money either way based on escalated conflict. More people dying in these like satellite wars that we have between Iranian allies and partners, such as in Yemen. So it's all bad, but I don't know. Either way, this is just what American empire is.
As the trite punk rock lyric goes, let's have a war, jack up the Dow Jones, right? That Fear that wrote that?
Hell yeah.
The thing is Iran does have some leverage here, because the first American bomb that touches Iran, like Israel will be gone in 20 minutes.
Well, that's
troubling.
It is. It's a very serious thing that would be an incredibly brutal thing, but hopefully that means it's actually probably not going to happen. So, get out in the streets, right?
Yeah. Well, I think the big thing too is just to watch how it makes, how it affects the behavior of our local psychotics. Ari, true to form, tweeting out every racist meme he found on Old Man Twitter and Old Man Facebook.
Is this failed Seattle City Council candidate Ari Hoffman?
Yes.
I know.
He got 3,500 votes. Or
look, we tried to give him
It was just the whole neighborhood above us, the Graham Hill neighborhood.
There are a lot of Ari signs in our neighborhood.
Yeah, we tried to give him the Seattle Sucks bump, and we went out, we canvassed, and he just wasn't able to get it.
Well, if you haven't seen it,
to this
he's
day, sorry,
posted two things on Twitter today that were the essential. The joke was Iran preparing for war, magic carpets, get it? So there was a picture from Aladdin was one, and then there was
that's nuts.
Yeah, that guy.
Some sort of racial stereotype.
Disgusting.
Sure, Orientalist, racist. Where do you even start? Like the levels of that, the sort of. I mean, what a fucking scumbag. But like, I mean, he's basically he actually said, "Bring it on," So like, this is just a true like slimy, weak like wuss warmonger who will never, never see a battlefield.
But he has little kids, and hopefully they will be drafted into the ground war with Iran.
They're all gonna have bone spurs. But but it is remembering the 2003 continuation of the war with Iraq. the level of jingoism and stuff that you'll see in this country if there's a war with Iran is going to be completely...
Or if they really try to push for one.
Yeah. And, just prepare yourself and prepare to hear, every fucking dipshit on Twitter and in your life.
Twitter's already going pretty wild.
Yeah.
Have you seen those memes? 1979 versus 2019?
Yeah, it's real bad.
It's nuts.
It's bad shit.
It's not good.
Cool.
This is heartbreaking, but I was following a lot of chefs, Iranian chefs, and food culture on Instagram. And I think they cut Instagram off in Iran, but it's just heartbreaking because you see these are real people. They're having a meal. They're not monsters. They're actually very cool.
Well, try and explain that to, IDF worshipping psychotic like Ari Hoffman.
Yeah.
Or even a liberal. Think of how they think of the unhoused.
Yeah. But I mean, when they had the riot at the American Embassy and ransacked the American Embassy, it was this amazing reminder on New Year's that holy shit, we have been bombing and destroying Iraq for 28 years. The vast majority of my life. Yeah. I'm almost 40, and the vast majority of my life we've spent destroying this country. And for the most part, we've lived in comfort, right? Yeah. We've never had to worry about a bomb on our home. We never had to worry about starving to death because of or just some bullshit embargo
relentless
on us
random punishment from the air, totally out of your control from what might as well be a galactic empire.
Yeah.
We might as well be fucking space aliens who are not accountable to anyone, who can just because what we did to that country in March of 2003 was completely destroy all infrastructure in about 48 hours. And then we've spent the next almost 20 years just random,
Well, even
obviously we let the whole country devolve into civil war and chaos.
In 91, they destroyed all the infrastructure and they bombed the water treatment facilities, and then they imposed an embargo where they couldn't bring in medicine and people just died en masse. And I mean, it's one of those things that it's a reality. There was a country, halfway around the world where millions of people died over 30 years while their killers just sat in comfort and never gave it a second thought. And it never even hit their head. And there's these weird moments where the veil gets pierced a little bit, like this, riot at the embassy. And just to see fucking people on Twitter or whatever going on about oh, this is awful. What happened to America? People don't fear us anymore.
Oh, right.
It's it's fucking awful.
Fears, they hate us and they should. I mean, what's fucked up? So there's, again, I think, the main thing is the money, but there is, factions in America who really hate Iran for specific reasons. Go back to 1979, but also the early 80s, blah, blah, blah. But there's actually been a new generation of American military and intelligence psychotics generated by the war in Iraq who now have their own special grudge against Iran that they will carry on for the next 40 years because they blame deaths for U.S. personnel fighting in Iraq on the Shia militias who were, probably were actually. It's logical to assume they were supported by Iran and specifically by the Quds Force. This was what they did. This what Soleimani did.
There was a distinct belief amongst every imperialist that colonies have no right to defend themselves. And, there's a crime that is just parallel to defending yourself against the empire, which is helping somebody defend themselves against the empire. And Iran falls right into that. And that's the real reason why the national security state wants them gone. Don't believe any of this shit they'll tell you about, we care about their democracy or whatever. Any of that shit they tell you, just go look at fucking Afghanistan, Iraq, see what kind of democracy the U.S. brought them, But yeah, I don't know. It was just one of those things that on New Year's Eve and then going into New Year's Day, it was, as somebody who reads nothing but police, trade magazines on it, I couldn't even comment. It was so fucking disgusting. I can't even fucking, I don't know.
It's absolutely vile.
Yeah.
I mean, the brazenness of just imperial murder, and watching the media get on board and
they love it.
and just get fucking hard for this. And watching the Democrats, their first instinct, almost to a fucking man, was get out there and
Talk to the stakeholders out there.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's the Buttigieg line.
I will give Bernie credit. One Democrat did say this shit sucks, and
we don't want a damn war.
So, but we should probably. I don't know. We're all gonna light ourselves on fire in this boat if we keep talking about Iran.
Yeah, it's bad news. Listen, you don't want to listen to us talk about it.
To be distracted by that.
Yeah. Yeah, so
cool. What's going on with you guys?
All right. Let's
30 minutes later.
moving on to some lighter fare. So we've got Alex at Bezostown, one of our earliest listeners. Also,
Yes.
one of the big early supporters
Your
of this
audio
show.
quality sucked, and I stuck with you.
Guys,
In the early
You are a
days.
saint for
it's
that.
great when your parents support you.
Yeah.
What you're doing.
Pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. So we want to hear. Tell us, Alex, about just all the wacky shit you've been involved in this town. Like I was saying, you're a long-time Seattle indie media crank. So
Absolutely.
you've been a part of some stuff. You've published, magazines, newspapers, all kinds of weird stuff. Take us through, give people a flavor of what we're talking about here.
Let's see. When The Stranger first came out, I co-started the Washington Free Press, which was a monthly newspaper about leftist politics. And after the first 3 issues, I was fired by my co-partner, my illustrious career. And then, so I threatened him, and I said, well, I put all this work into this. And so I made him sign this thing saying, you have to pay me $50 every time you publish the Washington Free Press. Mm-hmm. And so they did it for a year. Every month they're sending me $50. And these are broke-ass hippies with nothing. And finally I said, all right, fine. I won. Stop sending me the $50.
Living high on the hog on that $50 a month. When would that have been? The early 90s?
It was 93. Yeah.
And you said you had come out here in 1990 from
Came out in
upstate New York.
1990. Lived around upstate New York. And it was a different town, as you saw in the film Class of 1999. Seattle's really like a Rust Belt shitty town.
Yeah. I mean, no main
Some
for
yuppie
industry.
culture starting to develop, but no one had heard of Microsoft back then, really.
Yeah. Boeing would have been the big story, right? And their inability to keep people working.
The Seattle Times headline, whenever possible, would be "New Boeing order from Saudi Arabia." And that's the big story, right?
Yeah.
So
What else? Washington Free Press, but there are more, right? You've done a bunch of. There's some more projects, right?
What did I do? I published a monthly neighborhood newspaper called the Belltown Messenger for 7 years. And I was doing it I made this deal, printing is expensive. So I made this deal with Pacific Publishing Company, and they publish the Queen Anne News and stuff, these weekly shitty papers. And I got them to print it for free because my uncle gave me some good advice. He said, you're making a deal with these people? The only reason they want to make a deal with you is so they can rip you off. And I thought, two can play that game. So the Belltown Messenger, this is 2002 I started this. Instead of doing a .com or something, I thought, let's do a printed matter. That's the future.
Yeah, the aughts are going to be all about the printed word, my friends.
So it started out I was doing literal payola. All right, if you have a restaurant, I'll write about you and you pay us. And it's like an ad. And it's we're going to be the neighborhood booster for the up-and-coming Belltown neighborhood. And
what's that called?
Which got gentrified out of existence right around that time.
That native advertisement?
Native advertising? That's the buzzword now for that. Yeah.
And then, of course, all my projects, it devolved into a fuck the man kind of thing. I started picking away at real estate developers and printing some critical shit. And And that never made any money, much to the consternation of my wife and young son at the time, who helped me deliver the papers sometimes.
Are you saying there's no money in crankery?
Being a bitter ancient
Why didn't you tell
crank.
us from the start?
It's too late for you, gentlemen. And then before we let Max talk, because he's young and interesting, I did a series of feature-length videos, and you can find those on the Internet Movie Database. I call that the Galaxico Trilogy. That was the name of my LLC at the time. And so I made 3 movies, Doomed Planet,
Hell yeah.
Hellhole High, and Paul Alien. And I was collaborating with a bunch of people, but by the time you get to Paul Alien, where we're kind of making fun of Paul Allen, rest in peace, that's when I was really hitting my stride. I mean, this is a project about billionaires who are hoarding all the wealth, right?
Yeah.
And right when that came out, it was funny, the Seattle Post-Intelligencer was a newspaper. The front page of their business section had this story about Paul Alien. I guess it was a slow news day. And of course, no one had seen the film yet, so this was someone writing about it based on my press release. And shortly thereafter, Max was born, and then my career as a provocateur ended. And I became a bourgeois family man. And it's weird.
And now you're back.
I think the best 10 years of my life were living in a loft apartment in Belltown, no medical insurance, $300 a month in rent, doing art projects. And but you know, you fall into the trap. Like, people become their bourgeois parents, right? We own a house, we live in a nice neighborhood. And it reminds me, because I'm a bourgeois college boy, I remember walking through the quad, looking up at the dorms. This is in the late 80s. You could see a TV screen in every fucking room. Like, this is college. Everyone is just watching HBO, right? It was crazy. And the other thing about this was, it's like a rich kid's school. The biggest goal for these people was to replicate their parents' bourgeois lifestyle. That was it. I thought, well, maybe I'll just be this goof off in Seattle and rebel against that somehow. And then I got sucked back into the life. Thanks, Max.
At least you had that choice, Alex. We were the only option for our generation is to be like weird cranks. There's no
or
like
sociopathic.
There's
climbers.
no like flip the bourgeois parents' lifestyle switch. Like
less opportunity for you kids. Like, I worked at a gay underground newspaper and was paid well. It's called The Stranger.
yeah.
And
Well,
What happened
do
to
they
that
even
paper?
have employees? It's like the publisher and then the 2 ad salespeople and
Yeah.
I'm not sure
Charles
if it's printed
Mudede, who we
anymore.
love, and then maybe in
I think IBM's Watson maybe is writing something now.
Anyway, so Max, how do you feel about that? You're stuck.
Well, I think I'll break the pattern because, you know, you called me Mad Max for a reason, right? Like, I'm about to be in the apocalyptic wasteland.
We named him after an Australian.
Fuck yeah. Oh man, yeah, you're fucked, dude. I mean,
Well, Max got on the boat and his first comment was, "This will be good for the apocalypse." So, you know, that's the model that I guess the Zoomers are looking forward to.
It's
yeah.
not fair though, because I've lived a full life, and then what? Are you even going to be around in 10 years?
Yeah, no kidding. It legit is not a good feeling as a parent. No. I have to say that for real.
Yeah.
Doesn't
I mean,
feel good.
Yeah, like the thing, you know, for like a whole couple generations, the choice was if you didn't want to buy into bourgeois capitalism was to check out, you know, be an artist, like just, and now,
you could get away with it.
Like, yeah, absolutely. And now for someone, and then I think, you know, millennials are kind of in between,
Yeah.
like, directionless, but now, for the Zoomers,
Z, yeah.
it's like, yeah, just like start building a war vehicle.
Start buying some AKs and organizing the proletariat. You know?
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Yeah, man.
I think if you're a boomer like my parents, then not specifically my parents, cut that out. If you're not a full-on junkie or drop-dead drunk, you could get a job, right?
Yeah.
And now for you guys, it's like, well, do you know C++ or the programming protocol language of
Colin's like,
Amazon G?
Yeah, I do actually.
It's like all the one.
That's why I'm middle class.
Luckily, I was born a robot. So
STEM education, man. That's what you got.
yeah, barely.
I honestly, like, as dumb as that sounds, Brian and I have degrees in some
in the science
humanities
of politics.
degree. Humanities degrees are equally stupid. So it's a little discipline called political science that should be abolished because it's dumb.
Yeah, but that's what makes the podcast. You just speak intelligently about these things. I don't want to bring up Chapo Trap House, but you can tell those are educated dudes. They're not just some,
Yeah, they're not good.
What's
know what
this?
they're saying.
What's this Chapo Trap House?
I'll send you a
speak
link.
of?
I'll send you a link. It just started some new obscure thing that no one listens to.
We wish them well.
Yes, we can give them advice.
I'll write them a letter.
podcasting.
Maybe they should start a Patreon.
Yes.
So you've got a new podcast. The first few episodes are out for the new year.
Yeah.
You had some previews come out with Max, the radical teen bomb thrower.
That's how he got invited here.
Yeah,
because he
exactly.
thought
Because
he
I
was
heard
good
him
on
on the podcast. He's great, and I was not wrong. It was the right idea inviting Max on.
Yeah.
And but tell us more about that. I just I listened to the most recent one today because that just dropped a couple days ago.
Sex Offender Island.
Yeah, about
McNeil
Island, which we've talked about.
Yeah.
And I really liked the one on Dick Balch. Just a wild character from Seattle's past, and you just go down just the weirdest fucking rabbit holes, and like the research you did, like bringing up dusty old publications and interviews and stories on just like the seedy sort of like grosser like history of Seattle that you're not going to see at like the Mohi Innovation Center,
That's the podcast, right there.
Well, that sounds great.
I'll
'cause-
never run out of material.
No, exactly. And what I'm thinking is like, as I was listening to that, I was like, oh my God, this is the antidote, like the anti-serum for
The Chamber
Swamp
of
Thing.
Commerce.
Oh, yeah.
Fucking
Yeah.
that fucking twee
Mossback.
pompous dipshit Mossback Knut Berger and his like his Mossback column of the like twee like Seattle history about like what the
One thing about that is they have him on TV now.
Yeah.
And they do a big close up of his face, and there's nose hair migrating with.
See the centipedes crawling.
But if you
out.
want to know what kind of a bitter crank I am, media prankster crank. When Crosscut first came out, I registered the domain name crosscoot.com. Did a one-page parody. And a friend of mine, George, actually, Canute was his summer camp counselor, and he had photos of him, of a young Canute, and we put
like
those
in
up.
shorts and everything.
Hell yeah.
And that goes back to my newspaper publishing days. I was paying like Ronald, my food critic, I'd pay him $50 for a story. Like in the 1950s, you got paid more for a story. And he was saying, I'm working for Crosscut, and he showed me this list of all the. He's getting paid $200 a story, $150, and then sure enough, Bill Gates donated $500,000 to Crosscut. So
Yeah.
Thank you, Bill.
I'm glad there's some local media out there and they have a couple good writers, but that makes me bitter that I was trying to make publishing as a career but I never thought of asking Bill Gates for $500,000. So, I guess the nonprofit model is good, I guess. I mean, it seems a little milquetoast, like you're saying, just Crosscut in general.
Yeah, it's like, listen, I mean, they definitely do some good reporting, and there's some good people at Crosscut for sure. There's some people we read and like over there. I mean, the same is true of the Stranger. There's a lot of really good people doing work. The same is true at the Seattle Times. But I think the thing, Newt Berger's easy to make fun of because his columns are dumb. I mean, even his just like twee like history.
God,
stuff,
that last one
which
we
is just
read
really,
was
really bad. But then he actually also will then talk about like politics and like decry the Stalinism of the city council. So like he sucks. But I think my beef with Crosscut is like you're gonna start in the new century, like when did they start? Like 2012
like 20
or something
Around there.
ish.
The Mayans did predict it.
Yeah. It's like at this like late date, like you're gonna start something that is about like a local newspaper with essentially no perspective. That's just like the fact that they're nonprofit and that they're just doing journalism is the perspective. And I just why go to the trouble?
Newsroom.
Like it's just like it's been done. It's been done. It's dead. Like we don't need like every because they publish like arch like conservatives too, and it's like, well, I mean, why you don't have to. You're not getting. There's no credibility to be gained there except with like other conservatives, also known as Seattle liberals. So it's like, whatever. Obviously, like I am politically biased in that way. It's a phrase I would never utter except in sort of ironically in this conversation, because I guess that's kind of my point. It's like, what is the point of this publication?
Yeah, the faux objectivity of Crosscut seems a little antiquated in
we
the
know
modern media
objectivity
landscape.
is meaningless. There's no such thing. Like it's
You mean like
have
the
a perspective.
NPR MO of like, let's give equal time to the right wing, but actually give them more time.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Well, it's the media con that the New York Times came up with, which is you can much better protect the status quo by claiming this faux objectivity that is actually just a defense of the status quo, as opposed to
exactly
having what used to be what America was, which was hundreds of crank papers in every city. And in our current media landscape, that's what it should be, which is hundreds of crank media sources. And, you just...
I mean, that you just described podcasting.
Yeah,
so.
which is why podcasting is successful and the print media is dying.
Yeah. So, but I mean, Doomed Planet is like the perfect antidote to that. Because whereas like, we're sort of, taking pot shots at like, just basically local publications. Like you dig up again, to come back to the Dick Balch story, quick sum up, Dick Balch is like a lunatic car dealer who had crazy ads on TV, but also was like a sexual predator.
No, he's a fake hippie so that he could get the chicks with that.
Yeah.
That was a thing.
Yeah. And
so he grew his hair long and suddenly, he's hip.
Yeah.
But according to my hippie Seattle sources, he had his own little scene going right in Redondo Beach. He's not part of the politics, obviously, or any of that.
Yeah.
He's in it for the cocaine and the chicks.
Yeah. And it's just a wild story. And, you're just not going to get that anywhere else.
Imagine if like someone was paying me, like Crosscut, they pay their writers. Imagine if I had all day to sit there and work on Dick Balch, right? That would be so good.
Okay, judging by the evidence itself, the hour-long podcast, it seems like you sat there for several days digging into Dick Balch.
I don't go in blind with a topic, although Sex Offender Island, I kind of just winged it, but been a Dick Balch fan for many years.
Okay.
I actually called him many years ago. Oh, do you want to do an interview? And he's not down with it. He's like, I'm an old man and I've been sober since 1986 and I go to NA meetings and all right. So, but it's not journalism what I do. I don't have to pretend, equal time for Dick Balch. What do you have to say? No, I even mentioned that in that podcast. Well, I'm not going to bother to call him and harass him.
Yeah.
So.
Well, like, I'm just so looking forward to whatever other like weird stories you've had on your mind for the last 20 years, and we'll end up on Doomed Planet.
And it's named that because I own the domain name doomplanet.com.
Yeah.
It's a great name.
Yeah,
It is a good name.
It's like
It
the planet
good.
is doomed. I mean, that's like a few billion years from now, right? The sun implodes,
But I mean, honestly, I mean,
Yeah.
look at Australia and stuff. I mean, do you think he kind of scored with that doomed
Yeah.
planet domain?
Yeah.
you know what's odd is that and this
Yeah,
is,
the Australian
impressive.
government's going to want to buy it from you.
on January 1st of this new decade, I liberated myself from Facebook.
Yeah.
I just feel so good about that. I'm thinking when this Iran bullshit started, I'm like, oh, thank God I don't have to hear my high school
Wait a minute,
friends
wait a
and my
minute.
high school babysitter.
But you still have your account, right? Because one of your segments on the
no.
show is what's it called?
Facebook shout out.
Face-
yeah, that's
no.
gonna be social media shout out.
Okay, but
oh,
like
Facebook peak where I
Facebook
look at
peak.
someone.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
This is so great. If you guys haven't heard this, there's lots of promised segments that have not occurred yet that sound really promising that I can't wait for. But Facebook peak where Alex just finds someone in his Facebook who he just has been friends with for a long time, who's just a reprehensible person, and
just go through their
scrolls
page.
their Facebook page the one about what
It's
was
this
her
woman who's
called?
on a drift.
Oh, the
The
drifter,
drift,
or what? Oh, the
yes.
drift, the drift. Yeah, a rich person who jet sets around the world and like
But
does
have no
self-help
concept
in
of-
different countries.
Should I meet the local people and try their cuisine? It's all like, in Thailand, the yoga master was a beautiful person. And what?
Oh my god!
That's some eat, pray, love shit.
Oh no,
Oh, yeah,
it
dude.
is
Oh, yeah,
the
oh,
most
yeah.
like, it really sucked.
Well,
and
the
it was
truth
really
is,
funny.
I did permanently delete my own account, but I also have several fake accounts that I've had. So if I need to do research, I use a fake account.
Yeah.
you go.
But so that's mostly liberation.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Now, Max, do you have Facebook?
God no.
Wait, what is hip right now?
I don't know. Like in terms of social media.
Yeah.
Anything.
First of all, what
Tell us
grade are you
anything.
in, Max?
I'm in 8th grade.
8th grade,
Yeah,
okay.
I'm 14.
So, yeah. So, what's the social media that you are into?
Instagram mostly. That's just what I use to,
Stalin memes.
organize with other leftists.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah. Is that why you're homeschooled now? Were you starting a revolution at your junior high?
Yes.
Like,
Actually, tell them the story of the first day of school and the revolution you did actually start.
oh yeah, no, the hats. They had so there's this there was this policy, the school policy that prohibited the wearing of hats in classrooms. And it also had a bunch of other like racist stuff on it, like no do-rags, no like this and that.
Like anti-gang dress code,
yeah.
sort of
Like
quasi-racist.
Yeah.
thing dragged up from the 80s. Like,
And so
Yeah.
I did some like this. I wear a hat all the time. It's like a comfort thing for me. So I like really wanted to combat this policy. So
Hell yeah.
I did some research, and it turns out that it's illegal to have like a further dress code in a specific school for Seattle Public Schools. And so I organized some kids, and we got together and we like talked to the principal and the vice principal, who's the one that was enforcing the rule.
Right, which contradicted Seattle public school policy.
Yeah,
The school
yeah.
rule.
And they
we
probably
were able to
responded very
change it.
normally to that, right?
But it was like the vice principal, she usually like lurks around the middle school looking for looking for kids to get in trouble, but she would like go into my classrooms and disrupt like important vital learning time to tell me to take off my hat.
oh,
Like it was ridiculous.
I don't know. It sounds like the administrative layer could be thinned out a little. It sounds like a little too much free time on their hands, if you ask me.
Anyway, super exciting about the podcast. It's awesome to have you on. Maybe let's just end it with like Max, your thoughts on we barely touched on a little on the Democratic primary field. So
Right,
like Buttigieg, What do you got?
Buttigieg. Okay, well, Buttigieg has a lot of things in common with Chuck E. Cheese, actually. He's not only a corporate
Charles
puppet,
Entertainment Cheese, yes.
but he also has a rat face. So.
Yes. Yes.
Hell yeah. All right.
And
Corporate
then,
puppet with a rat face. All right.
Take that,
All right.
you Indiana motherfucker.
We've got, what about Andrew Yang?
Andrew Yang,
Yang gang.
he's like pretty much handing the working class $1,000 to fuck off, essentially. Like,
Yeah.
That's brilliant, son. I love you, son.
Amy Klobuchar. This is getting
I
deep.
actually don't know much about her.
That is
Yeah.
also the right answer. And, Elizabeth Warren.
Elizabeth Warren is pretty much just Bernie policies, except slightly more liberal and slightly more pro-war, pro-imperialism. Yeah, like, I don't...
Oh, so then
But-
you like her, right?
Yeah, but do you
Bernie is
Hold
good.
on. Do you give her extra points for her powwow cooking prowess?
Yeah.
I don't know.
She,
If you want to
for
read
many decades, she claimed to have Indian American heritage. And
Oh,
I
yeah,
know it's
plus-
a Trump talking point, but it's
for-
also weird
Oh yeah,
and horrible.
no, she was. Yeah, people like claim that she's like this LGBTQ icon. She was a conservative during the AIDS crisis. Like,
Yeah.
come
Yeah,
on.
she voted for Reagan.
Yeah, she
she's
voted-
she was a
but-
conservative up to like.
But Hillary Clinton
2000.
told me
Yeah.
that Nancy Reagan was a fighter
Oh,
in the
okay.
AIDS crisis. To continue it, I guess. But
She really
But yeah.
stuck by all her Hollywood pals during that time.
Yep.
Yeah,
What
about
she and
Slayer
Ron-
of Corn Pop?
So,
yeah, what about Joe Biden?
Yeah,
Joe
We gotta
Biden,
get
Joe
Biden. We gotta do
take,
Joe Biden.
With the curly leg hairs.
I don't even know where to start.
Do you think Joe Biden would let you swim in the community pool?
Would you touch his leg hairs?
yeah.
Corn Pop is a bad dude. He's a really bad dude. Corn Pop.
All right. Okay. The king, himself, the big man, Bernie Sanders.
Bernie. Yeah, I generally support him, but once again, I really don't think he's going to make like intrinsic change to the status quo, and I think
Yeah.
like social democracy, like us leftists want social democrats to cast capitalism into the fire, and they're like, no.
Yeah. Hey.
Lord of the
Well
Rings
said.
scene. Yeah.
But he's all you got.
Yeah. Well. Maybe it's because it's all we've given ourselves. So. Yeah. All right.
Oh.
Well, thank you to Alex at Bezostown and Max the Radical
Doomed
Teen.
Planet,
and
searchable on your podcast platforms or at doomedplanet.com.
DoomPlanet.com.
And we will link to Doom
we'll,
Planet
We'll
as
have
well.
a link up
Thank
there.
And as the years go by, doomplanet.com only going to increase
Yeah, more and more prescient.
in,
More and more doom.
value. So.
Less and less planet, more and more doom.
Ooh, that's good. That's the new tagline.
That's good. That is good. Okay. So we've been workshopping new sign-offs for season 3.
Oh, shit.
I can only hope they're as edgy as our new intro. So
Yeah.
Well, okay, while you're thinking about that, Max, is there anything you wanted to plug? Anything like We Square should...
my Instagram, I guess.
SoundCloud
Hell yeah.
rappers, anything.
Destroy LaCroix.
Yes! Hell yeah. Okay, we'll link to that. We'll link to that.
Awesome. Okay.
All right, well, we do have one patron to thank for the new year.
Cool.
Devin Silvernail, thank you. Thank you, patron.
Thanks, Devin.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I'm sure you're looking forward to more Weber content. We'll get that to you shortly.
This is the Weber bump. The Cats bump is still coming in, guys.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
yeah.
I actually don't have a sign off, but if you would like to suggest some on Twitter, maybe we can work that into a permanent feature of the show in season 3. So yeah, thanks everybody.
All right, take care.
Great.
Bye.
Bye.
I'm so drunk. I just want some chips and dip. Chips and dip.
People
Yeah.
like are the reason we need to bring back the guillotine.
Oh, your mom is not gonna like this.
Hell yeah. Man, this kid is fucking cool.